Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Weighing In, brought to you by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike gear, which we're going to get to shortly. Resolite, the Mat Company, and Pure and Clean Sports. Appreciate all those guys' support of what we love to do. Joined this time by both of the boys, Mark Ostrander back in the library, Braeden Turner back in the office. GT, first of all, congratulations. You and I spoke offline yesterday. The consistency of Grandview's dominance is almost an assumed thing. I think Mark and I have talked about it off air, but that is a great disservice to what your coaching staff does, what those kids do. I know you guys well enough. You're always going to give credit to the young men that walk out on the mat. But even in a transition year with the great Nick Mitchell stepping down and Grant Henderson moving up, Paul Reedy moving up, everybody chipping in a little bit more to try to make up for a substantial loss and a great leader. Just tell me about the weekend and you know, what was it like? Was it a little different this time without Nick steering the ship? And it's not a long drive for you guys. Kind of tell us about the weekend.
Yeah, so in Cedar Falls, there's the multi-division national duels, which basically had D1, D2, D3, NAIA, and women's D3 tournaments going on. You know, with the NAIA division, which I coach at with Hendo, you know, once again, it was, you know, not much changes, right? So Henderson's been on staff. You know, there's a lot of just consistency there on what preparation looks like, what we go into that dual meet tournament looking like, how do we feel? Once again, injuries and sickness always play a difficult part in this part of the season because, you know, you lose some training over the holidays, maybe kids go home, you know, a little bit of travel. So to stay consistent through the national duels over the years is always difficult. But, you know, I think, you know, like on Saturday, you know, Mitchie, he stopped by, you know, he watched, you know, semis and finals. So like, he's just a regular guy. He had to buy a ticket, you know, so like, you know, it was fun to see him, you know, then interact with all of the other coaches that we've talked to over the years. And once again, having this be Henderson's first national title under his regime is really cool for Hendo. But, you know, once again, there's so much going on. There's so many highlights and matchups and specific matches that were going on during that time period. Huge shoot, you know, shout out to, you know, some of the teams that like kind of came out of nowhere. Roanoke won the Division III national title, you know, basically upsetting La Crosse, Augsburg, and Wartburg on their way to a national title as a team. Flo did a really, really, really nice job with the, I believe, David, I think you'll know his name a little bit. Is it Lovado?
Rafael Lovado, yeah. Mostly it's Rafael, but go ahead. Well, yeah, go ahead.
So the beauty of the NAIA is like, you know, once again, we had a 42-year-old heavyweight, I believe world champion jiu-jitsu instructor and competitor basically step out on the mat against collegiate guys at heavyweight. And Flo did an amazing job of kind of spotlighting and highlighting his journey through the tournament. Really cool to see. One of the cool things about the entire sport is like all the coaches, you know, coming up to him and basically, you know, giving a pat on the back for, you know, competing and once again, kind of bringing everybody together on a specific athlete and just, you know, and encouraging him to do what he can and, you know, once again, represent himself in a sport that he's like, I want to do this. Like he wants the competition. He wants to be able to do these things. So huge. I can't not talk about that gentleman by, you know, basically being a part of the tournament, having some great matches. You know, ultimately, it could have been his first ever match was against the number one ranked heavyweight in the nation in first round, but like it ended up didn't happening. But not to like maybe steal the thunder of the entire event, but in the women's division, North Central upset Iowa 23-21. And I believe it was Iowa's first ever dual meet loss since the program was started. You know, I think that there's just, I mean, once again, I'm doing a poor job of shining a light on everything that happened, but there were so many great duels, good matchups between number one's going down, number three's going down, you know, some teams basically meeting up for the first time ever. Very cool to see.
It's it's very disappointing that you didn't do a perfect job. It wasn't like you were coaching or doing anything else there that weekend. So you're going to get
I missed a lot of matches.
You're going to get some demerits on your next report card. So, I mean, a couple things. So we did a clinic at Lovado's school during COVID with Joe Smith and Dayton Fix. And he's an awesome guy. He and Brian Piccolo are friends. That's how this all happened. So Piccolo went from Mustang to Oklahoma City. He transferred his son. He transferred Wiley, transferred Cash Donnell. A bunch of the OU guys came over. But Piccolo does jiu-jitsu with Lovado. So that's how that whole thing came about. Lovado is not just a jiu-jitsu world champion. He was a strike force world champion and had to quit because of concussion stuff, not because of like the game beat him. He actually fought Pixley, GT, in a jiu-jitsu fight, like in the last year and a half. So tons of overlap in this world, but stories like that bring more attention to non-Division I wrestling, Mark. And, you know, you and I got our sea legs in non-Division I wrestling. I'm actually getting Joe Norton on Mat Chat this week, the head coach at North Central, who beat Iowa, and they're wrestling Life, who won the NAIA. So this is like the dual Wednesday on Flow Night in America, Wrestling Night in America, is like for all the marbles for women, for the women's duels. You know, for guys like, well, I guess really all three of us in coaching that are are in non-D1 schools, these kind of storylines and things that get people paying attention is really significant, Mark.
Yeah, anything that brings a light onto the sport of wrestling, doesn't matter what division, doesn't matter male or female, even if it's a crossover into wrestling like jiu-jitsu and some of the strike force things, usually the wrestlers do really well in that. So any publicity we get is good for the sport. And it's just crazy to think of people, you know, his age going out competing against 18, 19-year-olds. But to be honest with you, David, you know, we did it. Grant and I probably still competed when we were coaching in the room. Every day we'd wrestle for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I'm sure you did it too. But I was in my early 40s and I was still wrestling with, you know, 18, 19, 20-year-olds.
It is different strapping it on with a singlet and a singlet. And Lovado's been posting on social, and he and I were already Facebook friends. He goes, by the way, headgear suck, which may have been the line of the weekend for somebody who's getting used to punched in the head and choked out and everything. Somebody trying to wrap a gi around your neck. That was like one of the best lines ever. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize, Mark. Go ahead.
No, so I mean, it's fun. The older you get, the less stupid things you do out in the mat, especially when you've been coaching it. You don't do the silly things. You don't waste your energy in positions that you know you don't need to waste your energy. So it's a different feel. But yeah, it was great that you and I was able to host that event and have that many different teams, divisions there competing. It's good for the state. It's good for the sport, and I'm glad we have it still.
Yeah, one last thing we'll jump on. Lovado took a picture from the top to all the 36 mats. And what's great is people have different perspectives, right? Like you talked about it, Grant, how big it is. It's wall to wall, the corridors for walking. You gave a lot of specificity. His view is almost different. Like, I'm not really a wrestling guy. And he took this picture and said, this is how big wrestling is in America. And you just came back from Japan. I mean, you get to go all over the world. But it is a reminder, like, there are pockets of this country that really freaking love wrestling. And to see that many mats at one time, if you're not a hardcore wrestling person, has got to be overwhelming in like the best possible way, I would think, right?
Well, I think as we are, you know, once again, representing a lot of wrestling and, you know, international all the way down to the youth and, you know, high school level here, there is so much wrestling that is not Division I, which you go to that event and you get to see some crazy great athletes, and you get to see a lot of guys that are collegiate wrestlers or women that are collegiate wrestlers that, once again, college wrestling is ginormous. it's not just Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa, Iowa State, Oklahoma, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Like just that amount of schools is like one conference of wrestling in Minnesota. Like that's just 8 schools that are in the MIAC, right? So so as, like once again, we get junior colleges and women's, both Division III and the Division I, Division II, Division III type programs. It's a really huge undertaking, 36 mats, volunteers, all the people that set up the tournament, the people that run it. It's the amount of officials that you have to have in order to do that, because you're running 3-man mechanics on all women's duels. So it's just showcases wrestling. I think the best that hardly any event up until maybe the Division I national duels has kind of represented wrestling in general. I mean, once again, the pinnacle of our sport is still NCAA finals on Saturday night. Like that's electric. That's one of the best representations of collegiate wrestling is that event, along with the NCAA tournament at Division I level, because you just have the spectators in order to view that.
Yeah, it was awesome. So
I'm going to say one thing, David, if I can, real quick. I think the greatest night of wrestling is Friday night.
I knew he was going to say
semis. Oh my God. Because that's to get to the finals. It is absolutely bonkers. And it is so fun to watch. It really is.
Yeah, it's like 1A and 1B, sort of pick your poison, right? Like maybe the guys cut it loose a little more, but the celebrations when they win the national title, lifelong achievement. The cool thing about the semis, as opposed to round 1 where you have ADD, like you hear the ooh and then you've already missed it. There's only 2 matches. They're right next to each other on the 45-yard lines. But yeah, it's those two are 1A and 1B for sure. And Mark, you and I have been down there doing interviews and everything else. So it's been really fun to be a part of that. I was doing a blog last year for it. And that's when you kind of realize how much is going on when you're trying to type everything. You start using shorthand, like V-Rob and Luke and, all these things. So yeah, it's a lot. That's an amazing tournament and people should get there if they can. GT, you guys are also making news at Nike. They come out Thursday. You and I spoke about this offline, back of the vault at Who's Number One, that you guys are coming out with new colorways for the Freaks, and they release Thursday. Time is TBD. People can go to athleteps.com and sign up and get pinged right when the officials drop happens. But 2 colorways. I only knew about 1 colorway. So you want to talk to people about these so they can kind of get ready for them?
Yeah, so we are dropping 2 new colorways, same shoe, just new colors. We haven't necessarily come out with any colors in the past, I think it's 7 years. So long overdue for us to be able to come out with some new color. 2 different specific colorways. One is more of like a USA centric, red, white, and blue with a gold swoosh. And the other one is basically a retro throwback to the Nike Air reversals from 1994, I believe. So basically trying to keep that colorway consistent with basically putting it on a Nike Freek. So to pay homage to both the Air reversal and the Freek lines. Flo did a really good job of kind of doing an unboxing. We've never really done that as a company previously. So big shout out to the Flo team. Their representation, Christian Piles, Andrew Spey, JD Rader, Kozak, all those guys did a great job on air, basically releasing that information to the public. They did a great job kind of hyping it up. Once again, not a new model, just new colors. But it's, the Nike Freek is a specific and special shoe to the Nike wrestling brand. We wanted to do it justice by coming out with some new color. Once again, over time, we'll make other adjustments to it, color, maybe a few tweaks here and there, but it's a special shoe, and I'm really happy that we did that with FloWrestling. Really thankful for their partnership.
Yeah, I would say don't change the shoes, but you changed the inflicts and made them cooler. So I'm pretty sure you guys know what you're doing. But the Freaks are iconic shoes. The Inflict 3s are iconic shoes. I think the Inflict 4s are on their way. So I know you're getting a lot of buzz about them, but people should just be aware that Thursday, sometime between 12:01 and 11:59, they're going to drop. So
I don't know if we're going to have anybody working in the middle of the night, but you know what? Stay up.
Hey, you told me one time when something was dropping, you're like, the exact quote was, set an alarm, old man, and get on the website. So like,
There you go.
Which was sort of the perfect epitome of a GT friendship. Great support with a little dig. So you got to get it in there. All right. I think the biggest story besides what we talked about is Jax Forrest debut. So I think I kind of knew this, haven't talked to Howard. This was coming because we were trying to get Howard to help us get Jax in Border Brawl. And then he's like, well, he's not going to school at Bishop McCourt. What's he going to do? The whole gray shirt thing we talked about was never going to happen. In order for him to wrestle, he has to be enrolled full time. By the way, OSU shut out OU and didn't give up a takedown. The last shutout, I think, was 1992. I don't know if there's ever been a duel where one side got all the takedowns. I can't even imagine. And if you go further back, it's less likely because OU was really good back then with like Melvin Douglas and Dan Shade and the Schultz brothers and all those guys. So that was brutal. But Jax comes out to Funky Town, gets a pin inside of a minute, threw his cowboy hat in the crowd in a style that Ben Askren and all the disc golfers would be proud of. Pretty electric moment. Certainly feels like he's going to do the 5 dates and wrestle in the Big 12s. Although he has an RPI problem. Mark, do you want to kind of explain this?
Yeah, you have to have so many matches to get an RPI at the end of the year for seeding. But I think it's only 15%, David, 10%.
No, it's 15 matches.
But I mean, the RPI counts for how many percentage of the.
Oh, I can go ahead. Keep talking.
So, I mean, I still think they're going to have to seed a Big 12 champion, depending on how many matches you have. And you'll probably have 5 and another 3 or 4. So 9, 10 matches. And I think we got a few guys that will be in the same scenario as Jax that have not wrestled until just now. We'll talk about those guys also today. So, I think overall, I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun to see. You know, he's got some big matches coming up, and it's really going to tell us kind of where he fits in at the 133 bracket. We know how good he is.
They had 8 dates before Bedlam and the Big 12s, and he can only wrestle in 5 of them if he's going to, they can just wrestle him, which is probably what they're going to do. I mean, but here's the criteria or the seeding criteria. Head-to-head's 25%, quality wins 20, coaches rank 15. That adds up to 60, and then the last 4 are all 10% each. Common opponents, qualifier placement, winning percentage, and RPI. So the best he could have would be ahead of everybody at 90% of it.
Yeah.
It will be where he's probably going to be seated lower than he's ranked. I think that's something people need to be aware of. But OSU does not feel like they have an All-American at 33. They have a bunch of borderline guys. Like 74 they could place, 84 they could place, 97 they could place, heavyweight they could place. They could place at 49. They could. I mean, they have a bunch of guys that are sort of going to lose in the quarterfinals if they wrestle to their seeds and be in a blood round match. That's half their team. I mean, Spratley's going to probably place. He's certainly done it before, and they have, freshmen that are killing it in Vega, Rabideau, and Lockett. But that team is scary in one sense. It's awesome that you look at the future, and it's so freaking young. But it's scary, and you're like, we're counting on 3 freshmen to score us the most points. And that's hard. So, by the way, sold out crowd, electric. So, all right, we'll talk about a couple of other things that happened that are going to affect the rankings. Ryan Crookham is back. Luke Stanich is back. Russell Cornell, really tough, smart, got a takedown late, which decided the duel. by the way. Lehigh wins the duel 20-17. It's not the order of matches, but it's 17-17 without that match, and he wins the match by 1 point by getting a takedown with less than 5 seconds left. That's a massive W for Lehigh in that program in the Snake Pit. It was on Saturday afternoon. I think I'd cut like half of it on my phone. There's a lot of wrestling on this weekend, by the way. So, but Crookham comes back in the rankings and Stanich comes back in the rankings. And I don't know that we're even going to get to rankings in this episode. We may just have to talk about it later this week. And Braeden Davis is back, which is what we talked about, Mark.
Yep.
That's what they had to do at 41. But we can look quickly. I'll pull up Intermat here and just see where they got some of these guys ranked. So at 33, they plug Crookham in at 5. It's probably hard to, I mean, I guess that's right. I don't know. I mean, you could argue he could be 3, I think, right, Mark? Like, that's probably the ceiling you could mark him at, right?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, and I think he can't be any lower than where he's at because, you know, Larkin beat Knox. Larkin's never placed at nationals. Ayala's 4-4, which is shocking to read. 41, Stanich plugs in at 5, and Braeden Davis plugs in at 7, which is very interesting because him and heavyweight were the weight you feel like they're least likely to All-American, and they have him as placing. I'm just going to cheat and look over here. They've got Mirasola at 13. So he's a ways down, you know, but interesting. And we mentioned it off air, but Braxton Amos took Keeter to overtime. Braxton Amos has also took younger Bastida to a really, really close match deep. And we love Bastida on this show. I think we all think he's a finalist, if not a champ. So there's some things to talk about there. Mark, you want to talk a little bit about the Fugat match with Ayala?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the calls, but that's neither here nor there. You've got to finish things when you get a chance to finish them. They had really close matches last year a couple times, and Fugat came a long way. I guess I don't understand why he is ranked ahead of him when you're 4-4. I don't really see any reason you just got beat him head to head why you wouldn't be ranked ahead of Drake. And don't get me wrong, I think Drake's going to be an All-American. I think he still has a shot at making the finals. I think he has had a lot of really close matches. He's the kind of kid, because I know him, that will figure it out, and he will not stop coming after you. And sometimes it's easier to chase the prize than to try to hang on to it, if you know what I mean.
Be the hunter instead of the hunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Mark, what'd you think about some of the other results there where, like, Ryder Block took a loss to Zargo? The heavyweight went into overtime. We didn't see Dean Peterson at 25. Like, I know you were obviously busy this weekend, but, thoughts on just those results?
Yeah, I think I really don't know what's going on, to be honest with you, David. They didn't wrestle any of their or they only wrestled basically right now 2 starters at the tournament last weekend, and then you think they're holding them out, and then they don't wrestle a bunch of the guys against Wisconsin. I don't know if there's injuries going on, maybe the flu's going on. I don't know. I don't think Tom thinks he needed all the guys in the lineup to beat Wisconsin, which is true. Because on paper, we went through it, the duel, and Iowa was favored in all 10 weights if they had all their starters in. Now, obviously, that didn't happen, but so I don't know. Maybe he was holding people out for this weekend, preparing for Penn State, which will be a huge duel. But, yeah, usually at Iowa City, you see the guys, come on a little better. Now, I did think 65, 74, and 84 looked really good, and they came out to make a statement, and they did. So,
and Mo and Dean had a baby, by the way.
He did.
wondering why he missed the duel at 97. That's a good reason. Hey, the reason why Fugat's ranked lower is because he lost to Geronimo Rivera, who's 5-8. And so, and Mark, you and I would have these conversations every Sunday night. Like, how much does this win versus this loss, right? Like, because that's a bad loss.
It is a bad loss, but also head-to-head should mean something, and it will mean something at the Big Tens, obviously.
It will. The Geronimo Rivera loss does not hurt Zan Fugat in Big Ten seeding. The match never happened for Big Ten seeding. But this is not Big Ten rankings. This is national rankings. And I don't know. And they also, by the way, Jax Forrest, they ranked him 15th. And, Earl does the rankings. And GT, we got to talk to Earl a lot that weekend, and very much sound, rational. Anybody who can sort of keep Willie on the rails has got to be a pretty rational guy. So I think you had a lot of leeway of where you would rank Jax, right? Like you have to rank him so you don't look like an idiot. But, you could probably rank him as high as 9 above Van D, maybe. I mean, maybe if Dylan Campbell's 16-5, but Dylan Campbell's beat some good guys, and there's a chance. I mean, I don't think they'll do it, but Aaron Seidel is killing people. So by the way, I'm going to say this now. I think 141 is going to be absolutely stupid good next year. I believe Buzakis is going to go to 33. Davino is going to go to 41. I think Blaze is going to go to 41. I think Forrest is going to go to 41. I think Rivera or Sergio Vega will go to 49, but I think 41 is going to be sick next year with these young guys, because I think they're all going to creep closer to that Olympic weight, GT, especially Jax and Blaze, who have zero chance of making 57 kilos, but are legit dudes at 65 in a weight that's pretty wide open in America.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what a lot of those athletes do, because there is a lot of this younger crew that's come up that are extremely talented, and like, how is all those lineups going to fit with all of the people that are coming into them? I'll even throw in like Luke Stanich.
Yes.
I mean, he's only basically a sophomore, but like, you throw in a couple other guys like that, you're well on your way to figuring out what.
Yeah. He stayed there.
So I think once again, based on kind of where we're at, we're already like kind of forecasting like what it's going to look like for a lot of these rosters as they move forward. But that weight class is pretty crazy. You're going to have a lot of upsets. You're going to have a lot of people getting spread out after the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
So you'll see what happens.
Yeah. I just think people should understand that, like, I think Ben Davino moves up. He becomes a better workout partner for Jesse Mendez, making the Olympic team, and he gets better looks and is certainly big enough. He's tall enough. I think Buzakis, I don't know much longer that dude can weigh 125 pounds, but I mean, good Lord, if he can hold it down there, he might be a threat to make our Olympic team, because he's a monster. But I think more likely he goes to 33. I just think there's a lot of interesting things there. A couple of other points. We talked about Zargo beat Block. Mark, like the guys on Flow mentioned that Block hasn't wrestled a lot, really in the last couple of years. He's been injured, but 49's a weight where almost anybody can make the finals, it feels like. And, Zargo puts himself back in the ranking. Let's take a look and see what they did. What were your thoughts on that match?
Yeah, I just think it was I was wrestling a lot of really close matches. They're keeping it real close to the vest right now. And obviously Ryder needs to open it up a little bit more because he can score. He's got a great double. And he keeps pressure on you all the time. Swiderski is ranked number 12, and Ryder dropped down to 17, and he beat Swiderski.
He beat Pinheiro. Oh, he did beat Swiderski, you're right.
Yeah.
He did beat Swiderski in the duel.
He beat him in, the national duels.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the rankings are rankings. We still got to understand that. It's just, what are you doing right now? And they think Swiderski's doing more right now than Ryder Block. But overall, He's got to open up more. I think he'll be fine. I think Zargo's a good kid. I mean, he's been around. He's a senior. It's not like he's an absolutely, bum. He's a good kid. So Ryder's going to learn from this. He hasn't wrestled much varsity for the university. He's a sophomore. He's a redshirt sophomore, so he's been there 3 years. Yeah, he'll come.
Yeah. And by the way, Carter Young is all the way up to 7. So, and he's 6-1, but he's really 6-0 because it was that default out in the semis.
Okay.
Well, he beat Wazalewski and he has no losses. So it's that handcuff thing we talk about all the time, Mark.
Yep. But David, you look down after Shane Van Ness, who's actually, been there a long time, has never been in the finals of the national tournament, but has, placed as high as 3rd. And he's always been a force during the year. I think there's a drop off. This Jackson Joy is really, really good. But besides that, I mean, you could just throw darts and find people.
Bro, Kaleb Tyus is ranked 3rd.
Pardon?
Kaleb Tyus is ranked 3rd from SIU.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he shouldn't be ranked 3rd. I'm just saying.
No, he's 11-0. But he's a senior. He's never placed at the national tournament, as far as I know.
He beat Swiderski this year.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, where's Swiderski at? Swiderski's got 7 losses this year.
5.
What's it? 5? Okay. So yeah. I think it's a wide open weight, like you said. I think Valencia is one of the better kids as a true freshman. I think you got the Arizona State kid, Larkin, moving up to 50.
Yeah.
8.
Let's talk about that. Let's finish your thought on 49. Let's talk about that.
But anyway, I think after the top guy, I think he's on a tier by himself right now. And then I think Jackson Joy has proven that he deserves to be the number 2 ranked kid in the country. So I think he's kind of also on an island, but I don't think he's with Shane Van Ness right now. And then I think you could just throw 20 guys in there and they're all together trying to figure out who's going to get where.
I'm going to say Jackson Joy, and this might be crazy, but I think he can wrestle with Van Ness just because he's going to get at least one chance on top. And I just think that's terrifying. Like, he's brutally good. So, all right, let's talk about 157. So I got a chance to talk to Eric Larkin, and he just said that the weight cut was too much for Kaleb. He said he actually grew an inch and a half. I mean, anybody that's seen him, like Mark, we saw him at NDI. Like, he could be a 74-pounder frame-wise. Like, he's as tall as Zach Ryder at 84. So I mean, he's going to keep growing. And so, people are like, man, this is a tough draw for him. Like Mark, you and I debated whether or not the weight class is harder or not, right? And we're like, well,
it's definitely harder.
Well, maybe.
I still think you only have 1 or 2 guys at 149 that really pose a threat to anybody. Everybody else is just.
Well, one of them 15 ripped him in 2.5 minutes.
That was one of the 2 guys, though, David.
Right, but I'm saying I don't think there's anybody up here that we think is going to beat him 15-0.
It's a style matchup, but there's.
Well,
I'm just saying, I think 157 is 10 times better than 149.
I agree with you, but I'm just saying that when you start looking at matchups, it gets interesting, right? Because so Larkin beats Zerbin, and then he beats Waters. And so they plug him in at 2. And I don't know where else you plug him in. Like, I mean, you could argue he's 3, right? Like, you could put Duke ahead of him, who's undefeated. I mean, I think it'd be a tough stretch, Mark, but you could move Shapiro all the way up. So, I mean, where would you rank him, Mark?
I would probably rank him, David, right now where he's at, because he beat the number 1 and he beat the number 3 ranked kid. So, yeah. He's right where he should be. He's beaten 2 of the top 5 kids in the country, because I'm not sure Vinny Serban should have been number 3 with, the board the way it is, but he had been undefeated at the time and looked really good. So yeah, I would definitely put him at 2, but I still think Antrell Taylor's going to make a difference in that weight. I think Shapiro's going to make a difference. I think PJ Duke's really going to make a difference. I don't trust Kannon at number 1, but he's having a really good year. But we're going to find out now with the Big Ten where he stands, because they're going to wrestle Penn State.
He beat Antrell Taylor, though.
Yep, he did. That was that weekend.
And if you beat Antrell Taylor, I don't think you'd be ranked to beat. Well, he beat Jordan Williams, too.
Yeah. No, Jordan Williams did not wrestle in that duel.
On the final, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. So there's a lot here to process. One of the sadder news of the weekend, some of the downside, Kannon Webster got a concussion against Charlie Millard, and it did not look good. Like, I'm not even going to make a joke. He just looked like he did. Like, when you watch the video, it looked like he got hit by a 2x4, and he just, and thank God, Millard was just wrestling, but thank God, like, he didn't take him down hard on the edge. So obviously wishing him a speedy recovery. And we have to talk about these because they affect the rankings. Dylan Gilcher's out for the year for Michigan. Jackson Arrington, big loss for NC State, out for the year. Wyatt Volker, big loss for UNI, who upset South Dakota State. That's maybe one thing we didn't touch on enough at the national duels, but they're out for the year. It feels like NC State will bring in Cepeda, Daniel Cepeda Sauce at 57. He made the finals of Scuffle. We did a breakdown of the match with Joe Seeley. We're still waiting to get the YouTube permissions to do that. But that match was really fun to watch. But those guys being out for the year really impact their teams. I think Northern Iowa thought Volker was going to place. I think NC State expected Arrington to place. And Gilcher may not have placed, but he beat Nico Ruiz, GT, right in front of us in that duel at NDI. And, Nico Ruiz is somebody Mark picked to be an All-American, and he's
moving up there.
He's up to 14. Yeah, I'm saying. So, like, he beat a round of 16 guy. You're a round of 2 out of it. Those we've seen guys do that. So Dylan Ragusin, I think I mentioned it, but he's back at 141. So he wrestled over the weekend. Happy to see him. Let me see if they have him back in yet. They don't yet. Oh, there he is, 27. He's 3-2. So if you said Dylan Ragusin and Pearson Manville would both do better than 0-2 at the national tournament, I would take that bet. So those are 2 guys that are ranked.
Didn't Tag lose to UNI at the duels?
He did. And he lost to it. But Tag had some good wins earlier in the year, but he did. That was one of the big matches in that duel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, big changes there. So, I don't think we're going to necessarily get into all the rankings. I guess we can. We got time. And then later this week, GT, if you can make it, Mark, Penn State, Iowa's this weekend. So maybe Thursday we'll do that. So,
when is that, David? Do you know?
I can tell you, sir. It's on my calendar. It is Friday at 6 p.m. Central Time, followed by Nebraska, Minnesota at 8 p.m. Central Time.
2 good duels.
Yeah. Well, one that you premiered.
One can get really ugly real fast, and the other one I think is going to be a really competitive duel.
Okay, I guess
I'm not going to say which ones, but I'm just saying one could get ugly real quick, and the other one I think is going to be very competitive.
GT, did you notice when Mark was talking about Ryder Block, he said we and then caught himself?
I did not pay attention to that, and no,
Thank you, Grant.
I will not testify to anything other than that.
Thank you, Grant.
Very welcome.
So good. It did happen. care if I'm outnumbered, it happened. By the way, Iowa crowd standing ovation for Tony Cassiope. Welcome back. And that is Grant. That's one of Mark's original first name guys, Big Tone. So kind of reminded me of that. But very gracious and deservedly so. Cassiope was a fan favorite there. Okay, so 25. Shockingly, no move this week in the top 16 in Intermat. At 33, we talked about Crookham coming in. Ayala drops a few spots. Evan Magoulian drops a few spots. Jax Forrest comes in. Braxton Brown is a guy that I think can place, but stock down right now. Lost to Serrano late. Just kind of going in the wrong direction, but certainly we'll have time to turn it around in the Big Ten. And again, Dylan Campbell, Aaron Seidel is an interesting thing to watch. I think VTech is going to be super loaded next year. And one of the interesting stories would be if Melvin Miller reclassified and did what Jax did. I could see that. It'd be interesting to see. 41, Luke Stanich pops in the rankings. Braeden Davis pops in the rankings. Ryan Jack drops a few spots. I don't know who was number 9 here. That would have been who dropped out, but I guess that was probably who did Penn State have a 41 before?
Go.
Oh, he was ranked 9. Okay. So 49, we've talked about. Caleb Tyus goes from 8 to 3. Carter Young 14 to 7. Aiden Valencia 13 to 9. Colin Guy off the board to 10. Eli Rivera 15 to 11. Swiderski 18 to 12. Ryder Block 7 to 17. This is the new 125. This is the chaos weight. 57.
I got to ask Grant a question. 49-pounder from Michigan, the transfer from North Carolina, Grant, one of your favorite guys.
Yep.
Do you see him placing this year still?
I mean, there's got to be a little bit of that because the volatility. I mean, but like Lachlan in the past has always kind of been in that, like, he was seeded 6th, I think, last year. And then I think based off the matchup against, like, I think it was Real Woods at the time, was the 3 seed that got him to the semifinals. I think that he is going to be – he could be like a 10 seed. I mean, he would be a problem if he got seeded that low, which I think could then benefit him on a better NCAA run. I don't see him climbing all the way back up there unless he has a great Big Ten tournament and then all of a sudden winds up as a
6 or 7 seed.
Potentially, I think that's the highest that I think he could get based off of where all these other people are within the ACC, Big 10 or Big 12. I don't know. Even if he goes and wins the whole thing, then it's crazy. But I think just if he wrestles a good tournament, maybe a 7 seed for him.
Because I see him and Lamers right next to each other. And Lamers is another guy that's pretty much been around a 12 guy, last few years. And he's got the talent to do it. I see both of them having maybe the same scenario, having to get in the round 12 to make the.
Listen, if either one of those guys beat Ethan Stiles or Carter Young in a 1-match scenario, it wouldn't shock you.
Nope.
And Ethan Stiles is 4 and Carter Young is 7.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we think Shane Van Ness makes the finals of the Big Ten and NCAAs, but, Lachlan McNeil could take 3rd at the Big Tens and like GT saying, be in that 6 to 10 range in seeds. I'll tell you this, if you're Ohio State and Ethan Stiles has Lachlan McNeil in round 2, that's not great. You don't really want that draw.
Yeah.
So just to give you guys a heads up, this Friday, you're going to get Rutgers versus Michigan, which then gives you maybe a little bit of seeding criteria heading into that. You're going to get a shot at Van Ness on February 6th for that.
Okay. You're looking at
That's-
Michigan's schedule, obviously, right?
Michigan's schedule. I apologize.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
it's just like going and looking at that, you're gonna get those matchups that you want to be able to get to, like right away. You're gonna be able to get to those things, right? So you're gonna get maybe some seeding criteria. You're gonna see where maybe Lachlan's at. Let's say he knocks off somebody in that realm between now and the Big Ten tournament, then his seed gets better, and then all of a sudden you're in.
Yep.
Into the thing, right?
But he can move up and move down. And the thing is, all these dudes are super dangerous. So it gets a little scary. 57, we've talked about. Zerban drops. Waters drops. Larkin rises. Kannon rises. But again, this is a weight. I'm going to stick with my PJ Duke pick. 65, 0 change. By the way, Penn State shut out Rutgers. That's kind of terrifying. Facundo moves from 12-7 on the strength of beating Carter Schubert, because Schubert had a really, really good CKLV, and that's carried him a long way. Garrett Thompson comes back into the rankings after being unranked, and that's pretty much your movement there. 84, 0 change. Really, I mean, McGill drops a few spots. Jake Daly, really nice freshman at UNC, Wyoming Sem kid, moves up. 97, no changes in the top 12. 285, no changes in the top 10. Jimmy Mullen drops. So, and then Wyatt Volker was 11, so he comes out. So Dayton Pitzer beat Jimmy Mullen. Now we've got Penn State back on top by like 23 points. Ohio State is now 30 points ahead of Iowa. Iowa State is 10 points ahead of Oklahoma State, but Jax Forrest, top 6 finish, makes that up. And I think that's what they're looking for. I mean, Oklahoma State's tournament's going to get decided in the blood round. I mean, a lot of tournaments, but I believe Facundo's going to be in the blood round. Ryder's going to be in the blood round. Panda's going to be in the blood round. And Doucette's going to be in the blood round. I think all those guys, Merrill is 97. I think those 4 guys, and I think there's a pretty good chance Swiderski will be. I mean, I think if they wrestle the way they're supposed to, they're going to be in the semis at 41, 57, 65. I think Spratley is almost draw driven, right? Like, I mean, he could make the finals. Like right now he's 7. I don't like that draw against Lilladale, but like he owns Ventresca, and if Ventresca beats Vincent Robinson and Vincent Robinson tends to lose to Ventresca, then the deck gets reshuffled. So anyway, anything else before we leave you boys?
No, just going to be a great weekend of wrestling. If you got it, the Flow account, I'd get it. Big Ten, I'd get it. And it's going to be some great matchups.
By the way, new #1 high school team in America, Buchanan High School. They won Doc B. And it's a good question out there of the JBs or Kyle Klingman's in the world. When's the last time a public school was ranked #1 in the country? I think it's been a long time. I think 3 champs, 10 placers in a really, really hard tournament. So congrats to them as somebody who's following that more closely than ever. And we're going to have Joe Norton from North Central on Matt Chat on Thursday. And North Central wrestles Life University tomorrow on FloWrestling Night in America. So as Mark mentioned on the Flow account, that's a good one to watch on Wednesday night. Let's quickly just talk about, and then we'll get out of here, what the I want to get to the schedule for this weekend because there's more than one good duel. So on Thursday, the 5th, 2 days from now, Mizzou wrestles Arizona State. Should be some good matches there. Friday, Penn State, Iowa. We talked about Nebraska, Minnesota. NC State Stanford should have some really good matchups. I don't know about the whole duel, but NC State Stanford should be really sneaky good, probably on the ACC network. Sunday, Cyclone
49 and that duel is going to be really good.
Biskins Valencia. Yep, I agree. Illinois, Michigan on Sunday. Lehigh, Princeton on Sunday. Penn State, Northwestern. Yeah, I think. And by the way, Bakersfield at NC State at Gilroy. That's a Pat Popolizio, Frank Popolizio, Daniel Cormier special. So that's cool. So, but we're going to probably, we are going to preview on Thursday at least a couple of those duels. So
you got to make our picks, right?
We have to make our picks. Yeah.
Grant, you're going to have to send your picks in if you can't be there Thursday.
That's fine. I can always do that remotely.
Mark's got Iowa 30-0, so that's easy.
I don't think so, David. It might be 30-0, but I don't know. Never said that before, have I?
No, you have not. All right. For my good friends Mark and Grant, I'm David. We appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you listening. The subscriptions are going up. Please, if you're enjoying this, please hit subscribe. It helps us. It helps show our sponsors how many people are watching. Thank you guys so much. We will talk to you later this week.